Hi, everyone. I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Looks like we've got a pretty good turnout. I know some of the people on here have been to a Gulf War before, and that is just great. I think this really is geared towards people who've never been. It is a very just different situation. It's different than your average event. So you could be somebody who's been in the SCA for a very long time and just has never had the ability to go to Gulf War, and you'll really realize exactly how different it is than a weekend event or even a closer war. It's got a lot going on. I have a couple of things printed out here in front of me that just kind of talk about some of the locations at Gulf War that we have. So some of them will be referred to as with acronyms. So I wanted to kind of talk about what those are. I wanted to kind of talk about where they are and the things that would be happening there. I'll talk about some of the volunteering situations and opportunities that you might have and things that might make that easier. Feel free to, if you have a question during this, feel free to write it down in the chat box. I've got a moderator on here. Koke will help us with that. If it's something I need to address, I'm certainly happy to do that. I thought I'd maybe start with a real quick. Let's see. I'll start with a real quick when you get there. So hopefully people are pre-registering for Gulf War. The pre-registration is open until March 6th, which is very late, which is great. Gives people an opportunity to either save up the money they need to pre-register or determine if they're able to go. The earlier you can register, the better, because they do base your land allotment on people who are pre-registered. I would assume, although that could be incorrect, that most people here would be camping with a group. That could be a household or could be their local barony. Many of the local households and baronies will have their own location. They often will have a communal tent, and there's often a meal plan that's associated with them. I really recommend, if your camp has a meal plan that you can afford, I recommend doing that. It's nice to spend that time with people in camp. So often at Gulf War, you're out all day. You get up in the morning and you go out and do stuff, and you don't come home until dinner. So it's really nice to have that relaxing time with the people who you're camped next to, who the people who you'll see at home. But for the people that you can spend that time with. Your Highness, do you have some questions or a comment?
Yeah, I would just like to add, the meal plan not only does it free up a lot of your spare time, cooking and cleaning up afterwards, etc. Um, Oftentimes, the meal plans are significantly more affordable than buying groceries for yourself or for your family or eating out of the restaurants and things like that. In my experience, it costs about one third the amount to join a meal plan as it does to provide for myself throughout the week. And I think that's something that first timers ought to know.
Oh, absolutely. I think that, contributing into that group culture and that just the food sharing is easier on the wallet. If you were to I think of all the things you would have to bring to a camp if you wanted to set up your own kitchen. Not only would you need your cooler full of food, but you would also need a grill or a way to cook it, a way to heat water, the pots and pans that are associated with that. You then need a way to clean your dishes. And I think that being able to do that communally is really nice. I have generally camped with the Barony of Namron, at least for the last 10 or so years. We've always had a dinner meal plan. We sometimes have a breakfast meal plan. And sometimes we've had a lunch that was just chips and sandwiches. But the way that we do it is usually a specific person or couple will kind of take charge of one night, and they will do the cooking and the cleaning, and they will do everything for that night. But you sign up, I help them. So maybe you're somebody who you don't feel confident cooking, you'd sign up, you help them clean up, you help clear the tables beforehand or arrange the tables around that's needed for people to eat at. I highly recommend you contact whoever you're camping with and ask them what those plans are. If there is a meal plan, how do you participate in the meal plan? What you might need to do to help support the meal plan, whether they're, asking for volunteers or such. I think that is I highly recommend it. The next thing I was going to kind of talk about, I'm going to go through the list of things that I was going to talk about, and then I'll go through kind of the locations and where those might be when they're not as obvious. Gulf War has a large list of classes. They're going to happen throughout the day. The classes are going to happen in a couple of different locations. Those classes might be at Artisans Row. They might be at Renaissance Village, which is directly behind Artisans Row. They might be at Early Period Life, which they abbreviate as EPL. So that's one of those abbreviations that you'll hear a lot: EPL, EPL, EPL. That's Early Period Life, and it is the opposite direction from Artisans Row. So it's really nice to know that it's at the very end of Queens Highway, as far as you can go away from the rest of site, basically, before you get to some parking. So it's really important to know that EPL, Early Period Life, is not next to Artisans Row, because if you go to Artisans Row, you will be on the wrong side of site. Another location where classes might be is Al Mahala. Al Mahala is a Middle Eastern themed camp. So they often will have drumming or dancing classes there. Sometimes they'll have other Middle Eastern related classes. I've heard of there being Middle Eastern cooking classes there, or Sakanjabin tasting classes, other instrumental classes there. So that is also, it's located between the Artisans Row and where EPL would be ish, but closer to it's so hard. I wish I had a map that I could bring up, but it's also not located at Artisans Row. So it's important to know, if you're looking for a class at Al Mahala, you need to find the correct bus shuttle route that will get you there. Your Highness.
One thing that what you're describing is hinting at, but it might be worth saying very clearly, is I would say one of the biggest differences between golf and a typical event is that the schedule is so huge and deep and full. And so it might really benefit those of you who haven't been there before to look at the schedule online ahead of time and to sort of pre-plan your days. Because what's going to happen when you get there is everyone is going to be asking you about your plans, and are you going to this, or are you going to that? And there are so many options that you might find it to be overwhelming. Also, fear of missed opportunity. There's so much going on that it can actually be difficult to hit all of the things that you'd like. And I'm not much of a planner. My first couple times at golf, I just showed up and intended to have a good time. I missed all of the classes and was constantly kind of running to keep up. Having a schedule planned and knowing what is available has been a huge help for me.
I definitely second that. The schedule is now out. So I have a version of it that's a little bit easier to read. If anybody would like that, I'd be happy to send it to them. Zubaida, you have some question?
Is that Baroness Beatrix's version? of it?
My understanding is that her schedule was just the class schedule. I took a schedule that combined all of the stuff that isn't class schedules, and have that have collated it into one tab and sorted it by time and day. Again, which I'm happy to share. It includes a little bit of everything, but it has none of the classes on it. It has the other things: the nightlife, the courts, the events, the opening ceremonies, the war point, those kinds of things, the tournaments.
I would very much like to see that, please.
Yeah, I will definitely. I'll post it on all the places where I shared this meeting. So you should be able to get it, and I'll try to tag people. I see other people on it. So Koke has shared a map here. Thank you so much. And this just gives you an idea of the vastness of Gulf War. And looking at it on a flat piece of paper is oh so different than experiencing it in real life. So just for those of you who are looking at that map right now, Early Period Life is going to be all the way on your very far left. In that middle line, so we got the middle cross, so all the way on the very far left. Artisans Row is on the right-hand side, just to the left of the Blue Lake, between the Blue Lake and the fort, the pond, and the fort. Al Mahala is, if you in the lower left-hand side, there's a circle. Al Mahala is one of those camps there in the middle of that circle. The Performing Arts tent is again over here by the fort. Renaissance Village is over, I'm sorry, over by the pond, and Renaissance Village is also over there by Artisans Point and by the pond. So those are just, that can just show you how in the wrong location you might be if you were looking for a class that was located in early period life, if you ended up over at Renaissance Village. The classes, a lot of the classes, I'll tell you right now, will fill up very quickly, especially the classes that have a limitation, a small limitation. For Zubaydah, you're talking about, you will not even be able to understand how big it is. So I think if we were talking about Will Rogers is a campsite that we use often here in Northern Onstjora in Vindheim, I would say from where parking is to the very end of what we utilized at Onstjora in 40th year we just had, I would say that is from 5 points to the end of where EPL and the shower is. So that would be maybe a half to a quarter of it. So it's pretty large. Let me bring up the next point I was going to talk about is going to be the bus routes or the shuttle routes. So there are golf carts that run along the main thoroughfares pretty regularly throughout the day. They run into the night, although I'm unsure exactly how late into the night they run. There's a point that they stop or become much more infrequent. But along these routes, there are benches that people have, that camps have sponsored kind of to set up so that there's a place to sit and wait. Often, and the shuttles will have a banner on them that designates what color the line is, whether it's the blue line or the green line or the yellow line. And so even if you're not at the bus stop, if you're walking and you need a ride, it's easy to flag them down. If they have a location, a space on the shuttle, they're happy to stop and let somebody else on. Sometimes on these shuttles, you can also transport, certainly you could transport a basket in your lap. You wouldn't be able to transport a whole wagon, and you likely wouldn't be able to transport a whole chair. It would just depend on what you could fit on your lap. They do a really good job at sticking to the limitations of the golf carts. They don't squeeze in extra people. These golf carts need to be able to last throughout the week, and if we are overutilizing them too early, those will go quickly by the wayside. Koke is trying to load the transportation map. It looks like it's partially coming up. Oh, here we go. It's coming up slowly, but this will show you where it goes. And so I would recommend, as a newcomer, try to find a time where the route doesn't look too busy and just hop on it and take it for a ride. I know that when my first few Gulf Wars, I spent a lot of time at the fort and at the fighting fields and in the ravine and in Onstjoran camp, but I had never made it out to where Trimaris camped or North Shield camped out on this part of the map you can see, which is the red line. I never even made it out there. So hopping on one of those shuttles and taking it for a ride so you can see a little bit more of the camp if you're not capable of walking it, I really, really recommend. I think it would do a really good job of kind of orienting you. Yeah, it's golf carts, the transportation. They call them buses, they call them shuttles. It's a golf cart. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the volunteering and Newcomers Point. So right in the very middle of sight, if you're able to look at a map, I know we're still trying to load these golf cart routes. There is what we call 5 points. 5 points is a main road. It's five kind of roads that come to, well, I guess it's like the cross of two roads and one extra. There we go. That comes in. It's the star on this map. They call it 5 points. It is also where the Green Dragon is. It's where the transportation, the bus routes, you can pick up buses there, and it's also where Volunteer Point and Newcomers Point is. So those are all places that you will need to go at some point. You will likely go to Newcomers Point. I highly recommend it. If you do any kind of volunteering, you'll want to go there to Volunteer Point so that you can get the points for you can get the points for your group, and then you can even get some little rewards for volunteering. If you do plan on doing any volunteering, there is thank you, Koke. There is a link to Volunteer Point, and you can also pre-register your information on there. When you volunteer, for every 2 hours that you volunteer, you get one raffle ticket. On Saturday, there is a raffle where they raffle off a lot of gifts that have been given by different merchants. And so you will drop your ticket into a bucket that counts who you're volunteering for, which kingdom you're volunteering for. You'll then, you can go to this volunteer raffle at the end of Saturday and see what you could get. For every 15 hours you volunteer, you get to pick something off a table they have there. It's an above and beyond table, and it could have anything on there. It could have jewelry, it could have finished goods, it could have supplies to make your own finished goods. It really just could have anything. But the best prizes are usually at the raffle. Another important thing about the volunteering and why it's important to record your hours is that at the end of the war, there's any money that is profited from at the war not any money. I don't know. There's a certain split. Don't make me a liar, but there's a split of money, and that money is then split and given back to groups according to the amount of volunteer workers they had. So if I'm from the Barony of Namron, it has to be an official SCA group. So if I'm from the Barony of Namron, that money will then come back to the Barony of Namron according to all of the people who dedicated their monies to the Barony of Namron. And this can be really beneficial for a smaller group, as long as they're an official group and they have a bank account or someplace to hold their money instead. That would be a really good thing for them to be able to have that money back so that they can do things with it in the future. It's unencumbered money, so it's not that it has to be spent on anything specific. Does anybody have any questions so far about anything? I see that Koke has her.
I would just add that even if you don't plan to volunteer, I didn't plan to volunteer at my first Gulf Wars, but go ahead and pre-register for volunteer hours, because you may find that you're in a department enjoying doing something and you could be getting credit for it. Such a situation happens at Scribble Point, because you can get volunteer hours for sitting in a well-shaded, cool tent, eating snacks and painting. They also usually have a master there in the Scribble Point that can answer questions. They have books you can refer to. It can also be interesting to paint scrolls for other kingdoms.
All right. Okay. So the next thing I was going, what all can you volunteer to do? Oh my gosh, Misty, it is as far as you could think of. So you could volunteer to water bearer, could volunteer to herald site. You could drive golf carts, the shuttle carts. You can replenish bathrooms with toilet paper, and that's double points, by the way. Anything after there's a certain time, I can't remember if it's 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 10 p.m. counts as double points as well. So if you're volunteering to drive a golf cart after that, you're driving a golf cart, which is fun to start with, and you get double points. You get points for volunteering at Volunteer Point, Marshall's Point, Herald's Point, Scribble Point. If you teach a class, you can get volunteer points. If you go to fighter support, if you teach at Page School, any of those things can get you points. All of those locations are going to have a person in charge of it for the day or for the war. Depends on how they have it split up. And that person will be keeping track, and they will give you the hours that you have so that you can take that back to Volunteer Point. And that's really important to do, again, so that in the past, they've changed it up some in the past. Sometimes it's been a sign-in sheet. Sometimes it's little like chit sheets. So whichever one it is, either you'll sign up on the sign-in sheet or they will give you a little chit sheet that you'll return to Volunteer Point with your hours. Volunteer Point is a really fun place to volunteer. You get to sit. It's nice and cool. You're in a tent. You're with other people from other locations who you maybe don't know. And from 9 to 12, all they're doing is organizing that onto computers. So if you're somebody who's maybe data driven or somebody who's good with computers and that's something maybe you would like to volunteer your time for, I know that they're often looking for people to help with that as well.
Volunteer Point does Onsteora Man's Volunteer Point on Monday from 12 to 6. And if you're interested in doing data entry and helping folks check where their points are going, which it's always super quiet on Mondays because it's so early in the week, I am the Volunteer Point Onsteoran liaison. So get in touch with Koke-Gan. I've posted in all the places as well.
Great. Sorry, I'm reaching for a pen. Okay. Another thing that is important to know if you're not from Montefiore, I did post this on the General Gulf War page, so it's very possible there are people here that aren't from Montefiore. So if you're not from Montefiore and if you're not from Trimaris, what you need to know when you go to Volunteer Point is who your kingdom allied with. So if you're from Meridies, they're going to ask you, where do you want to put your tickets, in Montefiore or Trimaris? And if you're from Meridies, you'll need to know who you allied with, so where those points will go. And so that's something that is declared at opening ceremonies. Let's go ahead and move on to opening ceremonies. Opening ceremonies is going to be Monday morning at 10 a.m. It's held at the fort. There'll be a large procession where all of the royalty will come in. It's really a fun thing to watch. There's a lot of pageantry. A lot of people walk in. There's a lot of banners. Many of the royalty will ride horses in, so that's kind of neat as well. And so there's lots of opportunity for just amazing and beautiful pictures. They'll go into the fort, we'll come out. There'll be a small court. They usually don't give awards, but they'll declare who, do some stick, talk about the event, and then they'll declare who's fighting for which sides. Your Highness?
Yes, the opening ceremonies of the procession, it's not just an excellent thing to see, right? But everybody's invited to participate in it. It amounts to being a grand parade, and members are encouraged to walk with their kingdoms and their local groups, and it's a really good chance to show your pride and where you come from. And if you haven't been before, you might see it happening and think like, oh, that's not for little old me, that's for the important people. You are the important people, and we'd love to have you.
Yes. A couple other things I was going to talk about was, I love this. I took notes and I have no clue what my note meant. Okay. So we'll talk about the Green Dragon real quick. Green Dragon is a physical 2-story tavern located at 5 Points. There's the inside the Green Dragon. They're often at night. They'll be doing, there's musicians that will play from the top. Musicians are bards. There's also a Green Dragon courtyard there out in the road. It's important. A lot of people will congregate there. It's important to not be in the road. Also, the Green Dragon really tries to keep it as period as possible. And that means just don't go in there talking on your phone. Try to maybe keep, if you're wearing a glow stick or something, try to keep that outside. Obviously, your glasses are fine, but just try to keep it as whatever you've got with you as non-obvious as possible while you're in there. The doors sometimes will be closed. They're really good about putting a sign on the door that says that it's closed for a private event or it's closed during the day. But it's really also a truly just neat place to go. It gives you a real feel of maybe being back in time. I truly believe that. They have a little bar there. You're welcome to tip people, but also make sure you have your ID. That's a good idea whenever you're going out at night. If you plan on imbibing or partaking in adult beverages, make sure you have your ID with you, because they will card you, and we don't want anybody to get in trouble for either serving people who are not supposed to be drinking or people who should not be drinking. The Green Dragon is donation based. So if you're going to be there a lot, or even not, if you have the means to do so, please be sure to tip them appropriately. I wanted to talk about accessibility camping. If you're somebody who has a hard time getting around with movement, accessibility camping is, I'll be honest, I'm not super familiar with it as I've never had to utilize it, but I do know that it's somewhere that's closer to the fort, it's closer to the classes, it's closer to the shopping, all of that is nice. It's also close to bathrooms and showers. And they have some special electric options there. So if you were somebody who needed to have a battery charged, or if you needed to have a CPAP to sleep, I highly recommend contacting whoever's in charge of accessibility camping to see if either there's space for you or what kind of amenities they can offer. There is a Gulf War Facebook page that talks about, or that's for the people who are utilizing the accessibility camping. And so again, if that's something you need to use, I recommend going to that page or that group to get more information. And there's another thing called the Wunderkammer Museum. And so this is a museum. It's on Thursday during the day at the main hall. And they're going to have some different medieval artifacts for show. kind of like a show and tell. It's set up like a museum where they have different artifacts. I know that some of the big things this year are going to be a Japanese sword and the fitting, and something called an Inkenbula, which I looked up. It seemed to be a pamphlet of some type that would have been printed starting about the 1500s. So it looks like it was different pamphlets that would have been printed up. So they have some of those there for you to be able to see. And then if you have any medieval artifacts, they're happy to have you bring them as well to put on display. I don't know that many of us have those laying around, but somebody might. And if you do have actual medieval pieces, exit pieces, bring those to be seen. Your Highness? Is your hand still up, or up again? Or
Sorry, yeah, I only just forgot to take it down. Sorry about that.
That's okay. You are always welcome. The past few years they've done something that's called the Gulf War Camp Challenge, and those are kind of neat. If you have a chance to find some of the camps that are participating in that, thanks, honey, that are participating in that. So some of the different themes would be, well, some of the different awards. So basically what happens is they have a discrete cabal of people who will wander around after you've signed up for these award, what is the word I'm looking for? Challenge. There's a better word. And they'll walk around. Some of the things that could be awarded would be the best camp theme, the camp with the best perimeter walls or gates, the best common area, the best camp at night, and the best overall grand prize. So they're really just looking for camps that have a nice ambiance, that have a good look to them. There's been a few in Osceola that have won over the past, but really just walking around and looking at some of these camps, especially at night. Sometimes during the day, you can see all the little things that are with camps, but at night, man, with tiki torches out and walls up and lights and tents, they really do start to look really pretty fabulous. Midnight Madness is usually Wednesday night. That's usually a night that the merchants all choose to stay open a little bit later. Sometimes they'll have some deals, but usually it's just them staying up later so that they can extend their sales a little bit. It turns into a big party. A lot of people go. I mean, it's just a lot of people. The lights are up, the tiki torches and other lights. And so it's really a fun place. Usually there's some musicians wandering around the whole merchant area as well. All of that's really, really a great, sorry, my son is just getting out of the bathtub and wants somebody to wrap him up in a towel. Doesn't he know we're busy? So those are some of the big things I wanted to talk about first. The next thing I wanted to talk about was just general packing ideas and recommendations. Things that maybe you might not think about packing for a smaller event that would really do you well for a larger event. If you're only driving 2 hours from home to go camping, well, and you have to go home and your shoes are wet or your clothes are wet, right? 2 hours is maybe not a huge inconvenience. But when we're talking about 10 hours of travel or 15 hours of travel, having to deal with some of that stuff could really be something that would put a huge damper on your mood. So one thing I always recommend is always put your going home clothes in your car, right? So that is a full set of clothes, underwear, shirt, shorts, socks, and shoes should just stay in your car for the whole war. It is very important that you remember to roll your windows up as well. So, because that would really get you into, and has gotten people into trouble. Windows up, everything in your car. And then if a monsoon comes in and everything gets wet, you still got going home clothes that are dry. And I really think that that's a great idea. You could even put a towel in your car as well, an extra dry towel. I recommend, or what I always do is when I get done taking down site at the end of the day, we're fixing to get in the car and we're going to drive for 6 hours to the nearest the hotel we're going to. I take a shower before I get in the car. That way when I get in the car, I'm clean, I smell good, I feel good, I got no extra dirt on me, and into the car and off I go. That's maybe not something everybody can take advantage of, but it is something that I think is a great thing. Let me see, I'm looking. Some other things people have talked about is swapping your shoes in the middle of the day. Sometimes if you're doing a lot of walking and you've worn the same shoes for a large portion of time, they've kind of given a little bit. Maybe they're not as comfortable anymore because they've been worn for so long. So changing your shoes or your socks in the middle of the day will really help you. If it's a really, really hot day, you might have sandals. Sandals can be really hard at a site where it's real dusty and dry and rocky. If that's what you're used to, that's still great. But if you have a different pair of sandals you can change into, or even just sometimes taking your shoes off, rubbing your feet a minute, cleaning them up, washing them down with baby wipes, putting your clean socks on and going again, that'll really help you for the day. I do have a list of a whole bunch of Bubba. You can't come in here. I'm on the camera. Thanks, baby. Go. Sorry about that. I have a list of different things that I got online. It is not a list that I created myself. I did do some amending to it to kind of add things. Some of the notes that I made were your armor. Verify your armor now. Make sure all your armor is in the bag when you're packing it, because showing up to Gulf War and not having the basic things that you need to fight is not fun. If you have an armor repair kit, recommend bringing an armor repair kit. Other people will have them, but it's always nice to have one that you can utilize when you need it. Let's see. I like to bring a craft project to work on while I'm there. I'm a crafty person. So I always like to bring a project or two for when I am sitting in camp and maybe my hands are twiddling. So if that's something you like to do, bring something to play or to do at night or downtime. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I need you to go, Bubba. Thank you. For ropes on your tents, it's nice if you can either have lights on the end of your tents on your stakes, or if you can put some little flags on there. Camps are generally pretty close together, much closer together than they are at most events. So having, when you're kind of on top of other people in these tents, having those ropes marked is really a good thing. I've seen people go to the dollar store and buy the little solar garden lights. I've seen people put small glow in the dark or glow sticks on them. Some people I've seen you can get like glow in the dark nylon cording that recharges in the sun, or even just a little red ribbon or something, orange ribbon, bright ribbon tied around there so people can see it hopefully better in the dark. I like to bring a broom to sweep out my tent at the end of the event. It collects so much dirt and trash and dust that I bought a collapsible telescopic kind of broom so it fits down in my stuff. Looks like Your Highness.
Yes, the broom is a great thing to bring. A welcome mat also helps cut down the dirt. If you have one, a rake to rake out the area underneath your tent. I know a lot of us are in cots and air mattresses and things like that, but still, it makes such a difference to not have rocks and sticks and briars underneath your feet for the whole week. It's something I almost always forget, but when I have it, it is a luxury.
Definitely a luxury. And also some of these things, so some of these big things, I think this is important too. If you're going to be in a camp with a lot of people, just see who else is bringing what, right? So if there's 50 people in Namron, we don't need 45 brooms. We don't need 45 rakes. It's better to have too many than not enough, but team up with your buddies. Say, hey, listen, we're going to be camping right next to each other. Do you want to bring a rake? I'll bring a broom. That way you're not all bringing the same things. I've done the same with, it can go the same way. Like if you're going to be sharing a kitchen, right? If we're all going to be sharing a kitchen, or if we're all cooking there, are there things we can utilize where some can pack and then others can utilize? So we're not all bringing the exact same things within, 30 feet of each other. The weather at Gulf War, let's talk about weather. There will be weather and who knows what that will be. So I have been to Gulf Wars where it's 85, 90 degrees the whole week. And I've been to Gulf Wars where it literally snowed. And we've all been to the Gulf Wars. Okay, anybody who's been to Gulf Wars, sorry, obviously, have been to Gulf Wars where it rains. One of the really big pluses about this particular site and this location is that the ground it drains very quickly. So it could pour rain, just the heaviest rain you've ever seen. And 6 hours later, the ground will be mostly dry with just some puddles. So it doesn't get that super muddy like we get here in Oklahoma. And that's really, really nice because it would be really miserable, really miserable if you were having to deal with all that mud at the same time. So it drains really, really quickly. It's a very sandy soil. Other things to bring in your camp that I recommend is a trash container. That could be a pop-up trash thing, also a laundry hamper. just kind of helps you keep things a little bit more organized. A table, if you have the ability to put a table in your tent, a folding table is really nice. Those are all things that I utilize. Some people will utilize a camp potty and sanitizer. That's something that you can buy commercially that they make for tents or for like RV kind of camping. Also, don't forget batteries and or lights, however you want to illuminate your tent, whether that's going to be with solar rechargeable things, whether it's going to be something you'll need to replace the batteries on. Many camps, many camps have electricity in them now, which is something that's fairly new in the last few years. So contact your camp organizer to see if there's electricity and what kind of things you might be able to utilize it for. In the past, when we've had a much more limited electricity like voltage, there were lots of things you couldn't run off of it. So you couldn't recharge big things, you couldn't run heating elements. That's changed a little bit, but I recommend reaching out and just finding out what may or may not be you be able to utilize. If you're in a camp that doesn't have electricity, there are bathhouses. So again, many of the camps have their own bathhouse and shower, not bathroom, but shower. And there are some public showers on site that are located at different locations around the. They're located at different places. There's one at the main hall. There's one by the cabins just shy of the merchants. There's one at the end by Early Period Life. And there's also a large one on the other side of site over by North Shield and on the other side of Trimaris. On this camp, you can kind of see, it's real hard to see the little icons for them, but one all the way to the left by Early Period Life, one all the way to the north just south of RV parking, one kind of opposite the fort by the cabins, and then one up at the main hall. Those are all public shower houses that can be used if you don't have one in camp. If you're going to utilize the public showers, I recommend shower shoes. They have a various degree of cleanliness throughout the war. Also, splinters or floors that might be questionable and have, slimy things on them. But that would be a place, there's electricity there. So if you got desperate, needed to maybe charge a phone or something, that would be a place I would recommend to do that. And let's see. Does anybody have any questions at this point? It can be real specific questions. If you wanted to buy a Gulf War shirt, you could get that, pre-order that through we can post that link if anybody's interested. They'll usually have some there that you can buy, but they may not have all of them that you might want or the color or the size that you want. So pre-ordering is always a better idea. Zubeida?
So my biggest worry has to do with parking and the amount of walking from the parking lots to various areas. What kind of route is there with the golf carts to help shuttle people in who are hoteling off site and are coming in and out of the site? I know a lot of people get there and they just don't leave the whole week, but for those of us who are coming in and out each day, what are the options for transportation if you do have some disability?
So I believe that there's day parking. Not I believe. I know that there is day parking, and it's usually located up at a little bit closer than the all week parking is. And so usually it's by one of the exit gates or it's across from the condos. There is a shuttle that goes out that way, but also if you can find somebody, most of the security people either at the gate or they'll have a walkie-talkie. If you can find one of them, they can have one come out and pick you up. And then likewise, if you wanted to volunteer for Troll, let's say you wanted to volunteer for Troll. Troll is not actually on site. It's located a little bit further out in a barn or in a building. And if you wanted to volunteer to sit at Troll, they will shuttle you out to Troll so you don't have to try to find your own way. You don't have to walk. It's quite a walk. It's I don't know, a bit, but they would shuttle you out there so you don't have to find that yourself. Anybody else have any specific questions or any things that they're concerned about? Hell?
Yeah, I had a question. What is one thing that you would recommend that is a definite, you have to have it, don't forget it, besides your ID and stuff like that?
Yeah, I would think like something you wouldn't normally think about. I think that baby wipes is a really good idea, and even just a washcloth. Because sometimes you'll bring a towel, and you'll bring soap, and you'll bring shampoo and everything, but you might not actually think of a washcloth or something to scrub you. I actually bought at the last Gulf War. I went to the Dollar Tree and I bought a nail brush because that was something that really mattered to me, being able to like scrub my fingernails and my knees and my ankles and all stuff like that. Those would be something I'd recommend besides the regular things. Probably can't watch this right now. Does anybody else?
Well, I have an answer for that as well.
Oh yeah, what's yours?
A broad brimmed sun hat with a string. Sometimes it's windy, but it's always going to be sunny. And I'm the type who doesn't normally use sunscreen and doesn't think of hats that often, right? But if you're going for the whole time, that's 9 days, and your sun exposure over a 2-day event is very different than it is over a 9-day event. So I find that sun hat is one of those things that is a game changer comfort wise.
Yes. Coque? No. Oh no, Coque. All right. Does anybody else have any?
Sorry, I hit the wrong. I forget. I put my hand down instead of my microphone. I was just going to encourage you, Zebeda, or anyone else very concerned about transportation from parking, to possibly join the accessibility camping group or check in with I don't know who the transportation head of that department is, but I know for me personally, I had trouble getting transportation to parking. And maybe because I was in the Still Connected trailer parking, which was the furthest out possible. But historically, I have not seen transportation go all the way out there. There may be a disabled parking section that does have transportation though, so.
Misty, did you have another question?
Yes. So, what are some good tips and tricks for bringing a toddler to Gulf War?
I have done that. So, with a toddler, I recommend something you can put on the floor. We had some of those big woven floor mats, the plastic woven floor mats. Rugs would also be fine. Because we had 3 toddlers in camp at once, or 2 or 3 toddlers in camp or more, we got those connect together gates that you can kind of expand open. A playpen is fine, and I don't think there's be any problem with a playpen in the middle of under your communal tent. But having that so the kiddo can't just make a run for it, which has also happened. If you're going to have a child at Gulf War who maybe wouldn't know where they're camping or wouldn't be able to recite a phone number, make a little badge that they can wear on their belt or that you can pin to their back that's got camp name or a phone number, mom's name, something like that, so that if they do kind of wander away, they can be returned or you can be found. That happened to us as well. Coque?
Something that we did that I think I learned the first time to do last year, but changing your background screen on your phone to whatever image you want, but have it say your name and what camp you're in. So if you do happen to lose your phone, they know where to get it back to you. If you do lose something though, you go to the watch, they have a lost and found, it's at 5 points.
Yeah. All right. I was going to say a couple of things that if I was going to Gulf War for the first time, knowing what I know now, things that I wouldn't miss. I would not miss the champions battle. There's a lot of pomp and circumstance there. I think it's really kind of neat. I would not miss the field battle. Watching them come together is super amazing. Watching any of the equestrians battle is really cool. Seeing the people fight up on horses is just not something we get to see very often, and certainly not on that scale. The ravine battle's really neat. Every night at the main hall, they do European dancing. And that is something I did for a very long time when I first started going to Gulf War. You can volunteer at equestrian if horses are your jam. Horses are not my jam, but more power to the rest of you guys. But European dancing was fun. I think that's always a lot of fun. There's live music at the dancing. There's a lot of people who don't know the dances, so don't feel like because you're unfamiliar you can't go. They will teach you the dances, or they will teach dances that are easily to be picked up. I know that I've done lots of teaching up there as well. I recommend for nightlife, there's Onstjorn Chili Night is always a lot of fun. It's a free bowl of chili, varying degrees of spiciness. The Gnome World Party is always pretty amazing. A lot of fun, dancing. It's got a theme. This year the theme is the Game of Thrones, Game of Dragons and Thrones. So Game of Thrones is kind of the theme. And there's just a lot of things to do. I think, like His Highness said in the beginning, you're not going to be able to do it all. You're going to have some conflicts. You're going to want to try to do it, but make sure you take care of yourself. Also, if you have the ability to take a nap in the middle of the day, a shower and a nap when everybody else is out of camp, that's pretty amazing as well. It's not always something that can happen, but it's really nice. Zubaida?
When is Vindheim Court?
Vindheim Court is at 4:00 4:30 before Onstjorn Court, which is at 6. It will be a short 30-minute court, and it will be at the Onstjorn gate/tent.
Which day?
Thursday, right before Onstjorn Court. Sorry. Thursday, 4:30. Onstjorn Court is Thursday at 6. Anybody else have any questions? Something I talked about that confused them, or something I didn't touch on?
Take bug bite medicine. There are fire ants. The grounds are treated, but I would say, especially if you have toddlers, I would definitely take bug bite medicine.
And allergy medicine. The allergens in southern Mississippi are very different than the allergens that we have here. So if you're somebody who is highly affected by that kind of thing, start pre-taking your medicines. Bring the things I have a whole little pharmacy bag that I take with me. A lot of people do that. And I recommend that, especially if there's something that you might need to take that is a little maybe more off the wall. If you can't take a certain medication, have to take an alternate, I recommend getting that. Zubaida, do you have another question?
Nope, I forgot to put down my hand.
That's okay. Anybody else? I see we've got some people who've been kind of quiet in the background. Do you guys have any questions? And that's okay. You don't have to have questions. You don't get questions. You've been to Gulf War. All right. Well,
I'm just here for a refresher. It's been so long since I've been there.
oh yeah. Well, you're gonna be there, Megan. That's nice.
Ha ha ha!
It is certainly going to be a very, very fun Gulf War. A little bit of my background for those, I know most of the people on this call fairly well, but there's a few that I don't. My background is that I've been in the SCA for my entire life, and I have been to approximately 22 or so Gulf Wars. I've skipped 2. I skipped the one that I was 7 months pregnant because my doctor wouldn't let me go. And I skipped the one 3 years ago because I just started a new job. But other than that, I've been to all of the ones since I turned 18. And even then that was very different, going by myself without parents, just turning 18, getting along and dealing with, I ate nothing. I think I ate nothing but like sandwiches and chips like the whole week, even for breakfast, because it was easy. I don't think I took a class at Gulf War until I had been to probably 5 or 6 Gulf Wars because I was so busy volunteering and watching. I did a lot of water bearing. I did a lot of European dancing. So I did so much of that. I didn't feel like I had time for classes. And since then I have taken some classes, and I've taken some really great classes. There are some people teaching classes at Gulf War, and it's really, really professional, great stuff. So don't not take a class because you think that you don't know enough, or if you think that it might be too hard, I definitely recommend taking a class. Anybody else? Your Highness.
Yes, hi. One thing that I think makes Go 4 and SCA Wars so special is that it's, I would say, a festival atmosphere. I and many of us have a little bit of social anxiety or stranger danger. Um, but what I have found is that there are no strangers here, just people you haven't met yet and made friends with. And I have never been able to be as open and embracing of new acquaintances as I have been at golf. And so if you are like me and you struggle around new people at first, let me try to assuage your concerns there, because everybody is at Golf Wars to have a good time. And I found it just to be a lovely, welcoming place where I can meet people. And I say all this because one of the reasons that my activities at golf have been limited in the past is because, I know the people who I know, and I want to do things with those people. And so going to classes and maybe being the only person in the group who doesn't know everyone, or being surrounded by people who have been friends for 25 years, like some of us have been, that's been a barrier for me. But here, it's not really a factor. Those people are going to be thrilled to have you in their class, no matter what your experience level is or whatever the activity is. So I just encourage everybody to, jump in with both feet.
Okay.
If you want to meet new people, two great ways to do so are to volunteer at transportation, because you get to drive people from all over the known world, including sometimes visitors from overseas. The other place to volunteer that is a great place to meet people is Gate. You get to be the person to say welcome home when people arrive. And Gate definitely needs lots of volunteers, especially they struggle later in the week to fill those volunteer slots.
Zubeda.
Just an FYI, if you are traveling with kids and you need youth waivers to be notarized, I am working a gate shift from 8 a.m. until noon on Thursday, and I am bringing my notary stuff to the whole war, and will have it on my person for the majority of the time. I won't have it when I'm entering the arts and sciences competition, but other than that, I will have it, and we'll do those notarizations for anyone who needs one.
Perfect. I love that. I think that's great. Oh, okay. I'd love to know people's favorite things about Golf War, and is there any presence of blue feathers? Absolutely. So I do know that Onsteora, I know Koke's ready to talk about it. Onsteora is doing a blue feather kind of gaming night under we call it I think on the official paperwork, it's called the Onsteora Pavilion, but we call it the BFT a lot for a big freaking tent. And I know that Koke, do you want to talk about that there?
I do. On Wednesday nights at the Onsteora BFT, I host and am also welcoming volunteers to help set up for it and such. But I host the pirate gambling that I've been doing around our principality. I am by no means the head of Clan Blue Feather anything, because there is no hierarchy, but I host pirate gambling and events around here, and I do so Wednesday night to a roaring crowd at the BFT on Wednesday night after chili night.
Yes, I know that there's also a Callantier is doing a blue feather tea on.
What?
I can't
That's
remember,
amazing.
I can't remember what night it's on, but I do know or what day it's on. It's from 4 to 5:30. Although the schedule says it's from 6 to 5:30. That's an incorrect time travel. But that they're hosting that. So I also believe there's generally a part of Marsh Chain that might be blue feather themed. So I think there's plenty of opportunities to kind of hang out with some of those people in those like-minded situations. You asked also about our favorite part of Gulf War. I think that my favorite part of Gulf War is, I think it's twofold and they seem opposite, but kind of like His Highness was talking about. I super love being able to hang out with the people in my camp, but I also super love being able to hang out with people who I don't see all the time. And so, just recently we were at an event where some friends had come down from Palantir, and I'm sitting next to a very good friend of mine who I see 4 times a month. And finally I said, why am I not hanging out with these other people who came down? So I get to spend that time with these people, and really truly just the camaraderie of and the friendliness of all the people that are there. Does anybody else want to share their favorite part of Gulf War? Your Highness, Koke, people who've gone? I think higher up here.
Yep, my favorite part. I love this feeling that I get when I have found my tribe. So often we're the odd one out in our lives, or we feel like that amongst our friends too. Like, these people are not the mainstream. But at Gulf, they're all the right kind of weirdo. At Gulf, everybody is interested in the thing that I'm going to give a lecture on, or everybody knows a little something about the thing we're talking about, and they can tell me more about it. It's a really thrilling feeling for me to sort of be among people who are enthusiastic experts about the things that I am interested in, and I get to learn from them and maybe sometimes teach them. And for me, that's very beautiful.
I had 2 things in mind and I lost one, but one of them is just volunteering among others. It's also a great way that I've met others working at Volunteer Point. And you might go thinking, this is my vacation. I'm not going to work at my vacation. But I find that volunteering in ways that I choose, rather than it being an obligation of what I do in my day-to-day life, makes a huge difference. I remember the other one, the bakery. I love the bakery. I must have a croissant probably once a day. And that's if I don't also get like a sausage roll, or they have Sakanjaban ready to drink. I just love good bakery.
Especially on the rainy mornings.
Anybody else? Do they have a favorite Gulf thing? All right. Well, I think that if there are no more questions, I'm happy to end this now. I am super thankful for everybody who joined. There are a few people on here who I don't know. If you see me at Gulf War, please feel free to come and say hi and say that you were on my on that thing. I also wanted to give a shout out to Isabella DeBrocher. The suggestion to have this came from her. She's out of North Keep. It's something that North Keep has done in the past, and this year they've moved from an electronic format to in person. And she thought that having an electronic format for people who weren't able to be there in person but still wanted to kind of have some knowledge about Gulf War before they went. So thank you to her for suggesting it. Koke is friending people already. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here, and I feel comfortable saying goodbye, and I hope to see everybody who could be at Gulf War there. Oh wait, Cal put her hand. Aha.
Okay. Thank you for doing this. I truly appreciate it. And it's corny, but my goal is to meet at least one person I've never met before each day.
Oh, you're going to meet 50. I will introduce you to 50 people.
Well, on that note, my mom of all people today was suggesting I bring a sort of a yearbook, right? Just bring a book and get the contact details of all the people you meet, because there's going to be a lot, and it's hard to sort of keep track of them sometimes.
You can tell me how that works out for you, Your Highness.
Oh my God, it's going to be overwhelming, but I'm going to try.
Okay, I have faith in you. All right, thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you all later.
See you at Gulf. Bye.
Thank you, Your Highnesses.
Bye.
Bye.